Alert Level 3 stays in Metro Manila at least until mid-November. The move is meant to give government more time to better weigh if the capital can ease to Level 2, barring any sudden spike in COVID cases. But there is one significant change. Public transport may now return to full capacity.
The alert level system has also been expanded to more areas outside NCR. 4 areas will be under alert level 4, including Bacolod City, Aurora, Negros Oriental, and Davao Occidental. Alert level 3, meanwhile, will be imposed in 10 more areas, including nearby provinces of Cavite, Laguna, and Rizal. Baguio is also under the same classification. 29 cities and provinces will be placed under Alert Level 2, including areas like Cebu, Bulacan, and Pampanga. Good evening, I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Robbie Malampaya. You're watching The Big Story. Alert Level 3 would still take place in Metro Manila as the Health Department flags the capital's average daily attack rate still being above threshold.
Yet, the government has allowed public transportation to operate at full capacity to let drivers recover from the weeks-long oil price hike. Greg Gregorio with The Big Story.
Metro Manila would still be under Alert Level 3 until November 14. This has had several groups wondering when would Alert Level 2 take place. For the Health Department, not just yet. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere noted of the capital's average daily attack rate of 7.4. Attack rate is the proportion of those who become ill after exposure. For Alert Level 2 to take place, Vergere said that has to go below 7. She also mentioned 9 areas logging an uptick in cases in the last 7 days, despite the negative growth rate in the region. Overall, NCR is still at moderate risk.
Kapag bumababa pa ang mga kaso tuloy-tuloy hanggang sa 1 linggo, malaki ang posibilidad na bumaba rin ang average daily attack rate.
The DOH then reminded mayors to be consistent in active contact tracing and vaccination. The Octa Research Group also warned about the significant risk of Metro Manila's gradual reopening.
Andun pa rin yung factor na pag may pagdikit-dikit yung mga tao, may risk na magkaroon ng transmission. So kasama na rin dyan yung public transportation.
For Dr. Maricar Limpin of the Philippine College of Physicians, an alert level 2 in the coming weeks is still too soon.
Kami rin po gusto na ho namin na matuto ho tayo na mabuhay with the virus. Pero wag lang ho tayo masyadong nagmamadali. Baka ito po ang maging dahilan kung sa muling pagtataas ng mga kaso ng COVID-19 natin.
Despite those warnings, the government has given the go signal to boost passenger capacity in NCR's public transport starting November 4. For road and rail transport, the increase will be from 70 to 100% from 50% previously. Apart from greater demand since NCR eased to Alert Level 3, the Transportation Department sees this as a way of helping PUV drivers recover from the recent hike in fuel prices. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Let's check in on our hospitals and the situation on the ground now that public transportation is being made looser in NCR. To answer our questions, we have Dr. Bernadette Velasco, Operations Manager at One Hospital Command Center. Good evening, Dr. Velasco.
Hi, good evening, Sir Roby, and good evening, Ma'am Gretchen.
Dr. Velasco, if we take the traffic nowadays, boosting capacity in public transport to up to 100%, are we expecting another surge because of this? And can hospitals manage?
Yeah, right now in the One Hospital Command Center, we're currently monitoring the number of beds available for COVID and non-COVID cases. So we're checking on the utilization rate of each hospital. Of course, we're focusing now in NCR. Right now that the transportation is open at 100%, of course, we're expecting a lot of exposure if ever there is one passenger that has the virus. So we're expecting an increase in the number of cases if they will not follow the minimum health protocols. At least they wear a mask inside the public vehicle.
But Dr. Velasco, other than bed capacity, what about the other resources? We're coming out, we know, with some shortages in some medicine, tocilizumab, for example, and then kumusta ang oxygen, and most importantly, manpower. Do we have everything in place?
Yeah, so we're maintaining the number of healthcare workers that are currently deployed in each institution. So, and also we're monitoring the number of medicines and even the oxygen supply. We're also monitoring on that. And then we have a steady supply of the medicines for COVID-19.
Okay, maraming salamat po. That was Dr. Bernadette Velasco of the One Hospital Command Center. One other thing that government is backing on is it eased restrictions in the country as vaccination picking up. On Thursday, the program actually reached a milestone. Tonight's number is 100 million. That's the total number of COVID-19 doses the country has received. We breached that mark after the arrival of more than 970,000 Pfizer COVID shots, which arrived on Thursday.
These are the other big stories tonight. Drivers no longer have to content themselves with a 5-year license. Motorists can now opt for a 10-year card, but that comes with conditions. No, your app will still carry the name Facebook. The tech giant, however, is changing name to reflect its new direction, Meta. And the TNT Tropang Giga is hoping to end the series tonight, but will the Magnolia Hotshots foil their plans of going home with the crown? More of these big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Malampaya.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Motorists may now apply for a 10-year driver's license provided that they don't have any traffic violation.
But before anything else, they must take the Comprehensive Driver's Education Program. Mon Gualvez with the details.
Jeepney driver Rodrigo is taking a driver's exam online even at 64. In fact, this is his second try after failing yesterday.
Kailangan ko makapasa para makapag-drive ako na medyo matagal-tagal.
Motorist Rosel, meanwhile, found it easy peasy, passing with a score of 84%.
Pag nakakano ako, alam mo yung ginagawa mo, no?
Since October 28, the Land Transportation Office has required all motorists to take its Comprehensive Driver's Education Program, or CDE. It's now a prerequisite for renewing one's driver's license under the amended Land Transportation and Traffic Code. The CDE includes a 5-hour refresher on traffic rules, road courtesy reminders, and an online test.
Gusto nating mabawasan yung mga nangyayari sa lansangan na hindi ka nais-nais, mga aksidente na kung saan nagdudulot ng injuries and even may mga namamatay.
The CDE is accessible via the LTO's Land Transportation Management System portal or in LTO-accredited driving schools for a fee. Motorists who would fail the exams will be required to retake the test. Once done, they may renew their licenses already. But only those without any traffic violation are eligible for a 10-year renewal. Those with existing records may only apply for one that's valid for 5 years. Some applicants welcome the new policy.
10 years na eh. Medyo more na masyado sa less hassle na siya, less gastos na rin.
Mabilis naman yung process po nila ngayon and yung sa portal sa new system po nila is mas maganda po.
A road safety advocate group even wants to go as far as integrating traffic education in the country's curriculum.
Naniniwala po tayo na para po magkaroon tayo ng matibay na pundasyon pagdating dun sa pagsunod sa mga batas trapiko, ito po ay through education, not through law enforcement.
So far, the rollout is exclusive to LTO's central office and licensing center in Quezon City. Other areas in Metro Manila will follow suit next week and the rest of the country thereafter. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, We Are One News.
A former Comelec official says the tax evasion case of presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos may merit an automatic disqualification. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to the story.
A 2.5-decades-old conviction of Bongbong Marcos for tax evasion recently surfaced, and a former election commissioner says it may merit an automatic disqualification by Comelec.
Pag ganun ang sitwasyon, there's already a conviction and there was already a sentence and that has become final already, administrative duty ng COMELEC to disqualify. And wala nang issue, nangyari na yun.
5 Judge Benedicto Ulep in 1995, Marcos was found guilty beyond reasonable doubt for violating Section 45 and 50 of the Internal Revenue Tax Code. Marcos was ordered to pay taxes and penalties and sentenced to 7 years imprisonment. The Court of Appeals upheld the conviction in 1997 but merely ordered him to pay the fines with no mention of jail time. Retired Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio says the conviction could be grounds for disqualification under the Omnibus Election Code since it could be considered a crime involving moral turpitude. Gia said in instances like this, it does not need to go through the COMELEC and bank for the COMELEC can act on its administrative duty alone. But there must be a petition for the COMELEC can't, as a rule, act on its own.
Or those who would file disqualification cases against those who file their certificates of candidacy, and that's the only time that COMELEC will look into the allegations.
Gia adds that the evidence must be unimpeachable, but due process will still be followed.
Paano kung let's say may plenary pardon, hindi present ng petitioner? That is something that the respondent can show.
The camp of Bongbong Marcos and his rival presidential candidates were unusually quiet on this issue. One News tried to reach out to the camps of Leni Robredo, Ping Lacson, and Isko Moreno, but refused to comment on the matter. One News has also been trying to get a reaction from the camp of Bongbong Marcos, but has received no response. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
And here are other election stories we are watching. Vice President Leni Robredo says she is willing to continue President Duterte's war on drugs. Robredo believes that the drug war should have a more holistic approach rather than heavy enforcement. She also suggests for the Dangerous Drug Board to lead the drive instead of PDEA. Presidential candidate and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno stands by his statement that addressing labor contractualization will be the least of his concerns if elected as president. In a meeting with supporters in Quezon City, Moreno acknowledged the need to create jobs for Filipinos. Despite this, he vows to address labor issues if elected. In Cebu, Senator Manny Pacquiao once again gave away cash. Aside from giving away cash, he also promised tricycle drivers that he will shoulder their boundary fees and have their tax filled. Pacquiao maintains that this is not vote buying and is just a continuation of his practice of giving financial aid.
As the elections draw near, know more about the economic reforms of the 2022 presidential candidate, Senator Panfilo Lacson. Join the forum live on Meet the Presidentiables Economic Reforms in the New Frontier, live on One News, simulcast on 1PH and Radyo 5 this Saturday, October 30 at 7:30 p.m. You may also watch the live stream on One News, 1PH, and Radyo 5's Facebook and YouTube pages, as well as Signal Play. Now for the big story in sports. History was made in the NBA as two players with Filipino heritage played in the same game. This happened during the game between the Utah Jazz and the Houston Rockets as Filipino-Americans Jordan Clarkson and Jalen Green faced off against one another. Clarkson and the Jazz would walk away with a 122-91 victory, with the reigning Sixth Man of the Year finishing with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Green, the second overall pick of the 2021 draft, had 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Time for another quick break. When we return, Facebook changes corporate name to Meta as it seeks to pioneer in the metaverse. And it's final. The TNT Tropang Giga takes home the crown after a convincing win against the Magnolia Hotshots.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho.
Days after LGU's eased restrictions for travelers, bus terminals and airports are already swamped with passengers wanting to be out and about before the break. But what exactly is the situation in the terminals? Gerard De La Peña tells us.
The halls and boarding gates of the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PTEX, used to be empty, but not on Friday. Thousands of passengers are eager to head to the provinces after several local government units eased restrictions for travelers. The PTEX management is pegging passenger volume to reach 60,000, close to its pre-pandemic numbers.
Kasi ito na yung pagkakataon para mag-CUWian na yung ating mga kababayan kasi ngayon palang matatapos yung work week nila.
The terminal management has requested bus lines to deploy more buses. From just 1,200 units earlier this week, they hope to have 2,000 units available, all in the hopes of accommodating more passengers while maintaining the 50% capacity rule. Most of them are bound for Bicol and Batangas Port, the gateways to Visayas and Mindanao. Aside from passengers bound for the provinces, the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange can be filled with passengers who commute daily between Metro Manila and Cavite. Passengers are advised to book their tickets ahead of time, but some of them just secured theirs today.
Sa bagay, ngayon hindi naman tulad nung dati talaga na marami. Maluwag pa nga eh. Hindi talaga siya tulad noon na wala pang pandemic.
Over at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, foot traffic is still below pre-pandemic level during this season. Most are going to Boracay for the long weekend. Seaports likewise are not expecting an influx of passengers.
Baka po magkaroon ng konting increase lamang. Although nagluwag, may mga requirements pa rin po yung mga LGUs na patutunguhan ng.
Toll operators have also prepared for the expected 10% increase in vehicular volume. The NLEX Corporation has deployed marshals to assist motorists who might be in need. For News 5, Gerard De La Peña, We Are One News.
Pressure mounts on the Energy Department for allowing Dennis Uy's Udena to take over Malampaya. But the bigger question is, why is he so interested in dwindling resources? Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez tells us.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian continues to hit the Energy Department over Udena's purchase of Malampaya, saying the deal was against the law.
Government twisted the law, PD 87 and DC 2007, to approve the contract of Udena buying Chevron. A lot of inconsistencies.
Udena is owned by Dennis Uy, who has close ties with President Duterte. This week, private citizens led by businesswoman Loida Nicholas Lewis filed graft complaints against Uy, Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi, and several others before the Ombudsman. The group called the deal code the most incredible crony agreement in history.
This is unparalleled. This is the most incredible crony agreement in the entire history. Not just in the history of the Philippines, but I would say in the history of the world. There is nothing that comes close to this.
Uy now owns 90% of Malampaya. Gatchalian questioned why the DOE allowed Udena to take over the gas field when it has no experience with exploration and is deep in debt.
How can they buy and operate this asset, Malampaya, if they are in very precarious financial state?
The DOE has repeatedly denied it favored Udena, where Secretary Cusi called the complaint political propaganda. Located in Palawan, Malampaya is the sole natural gas field in the Philippines.
If Malampaya fails, magkakaroon tayo, 1/3 of our economy in Luzon will disappear because walang kuryente.
And the bigger question, if it's depleting soon, why does Udena even want it? In a separate forum, Senator Gatchalian said there could be vast untapped oil and gas reserves there.
The near wells have not been explored yet in that service contract. And there's already a pipeline. Most likely, the near wells will be prolific.
PXP Energy at one point was also interested in Malampaya. PXP Energy is part of the MVP Group, as is One News. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
Facebook has changed its corporate name to Meta to align with its venture into augmented reality dubbed the Metaverse. But some critics deem the rebranding a smokescreen after the tech giant's involvement in a number of scandals. Just De Los Santos has this explainer.
Hold your horses. Know Your App is still going to carry the name Facebook. So will your other apps under what used to be the company called Facebook, like Instagram and WhatsApp. The company, though, is changing name and changing face to Meta.
Sounds dystopian, right? Well, movies like Matrix have explored the concept before, a virtual world where you can enter using different devices. The name change signals the pivot from merely doing social media apps to merging augmented reality and virtual tech in the physical environment.
Over time, I hope that we are seen as a metaverse company. And I want to anchor our work and our identity on what we are building towards.
Now that we've got that covered, what should we expect from Meta? Zuckerberg says the dream is to allow users to work, study, and play in a virtual environment. Messenger calls, for example, will enter the world of virtual reality where you can explore places or play games. That, of course, will come with products including virtual and augmented reality hardware. But for critics, there's a far different reality that the tech giant should be concerned with. Facebook has undergone intense scrutiny due to market power, algorithmic decisions, and policing abuses.
They don't want to hear about the future. They want to hear about what's going on right now and what are you going to do to make your social media platform a better product.
Distraction or not, the rebranding has caused quite a stir online, even a barrage of wisecracks from brands like Wendy's to local delivery platform Angkas. Now, if only a name change means being a better company. Jess De Los Santos, We Are One News.
Another big story in sports in the PBA, the TNT Tropang Giga has won the PBA Philippine Cup crown after defeating the Magnolia Hotshots in Game 5 of the finals, 94-79. Tropang Giga once again backed on a strong second quarter, showing to build a large lead against the Hotshots. Mikey Williams once again led the way with 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Now, in his first season back at the helm, head coach Shot Reyes was able to deliver TNT's first title in 6 years and their 8th as a franchise.
And as with everything else, over the past 2 years, the pandemic has also left its mark on Halloween.
Some groups, though, were able to find a way to celebrate the spooky season, and I might have joined on the transformation, to be sure. Watch this report.
Gone are the days of decorating hallways or bringing kids for trick-or-treat. Halloween has also gone virtual, just like this gimmick of this group of advertisers.
Each team will be coming up with their own transformation TikTok videos. So from normal ganap to, the normal TikTok videos that glam up.
From elves to dwarfs to warriors, sorcerers,
are you ready?
And the undead. Using their TikTok and editing skills, they were able to put together all the transformation videos from 5 different teams under one theme.
It took us 4 hours, all in all, just to get a 19-second clip. Respect talaga for not just for TikTok, but every content creator talaga. How all these platforms like TikTok, YouTube have been giving us entertainment, lalo na during this pandemic. So super respect. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. There's a lot of production and preparation just to come out with something that will make you smile afterwards.
For many of them, celebrating Halloween is a way to get rid of the pandemic blues.
This pandemic has been isolating for a lot of people. So we wanted to make sure that as part of the mental wellness, that they are still included. They still feel that they're part of the group and the team. We want to make sure that it's still fun, regardless of it being a little bit different this year. But we know it's only temporary. But nonetheless, dapat tuloy pa rin yung saya.
The fun is also for a good cause. They receive 50,000 pesos, which they can donate to a charity of their choice. For FDev Digital Innovations and Ventures, creating spooky spaces is the name of the game.
Each venture gets their own house, so they have to design inside and outside and make it
They even had treats delivered and a separate virtual costume catwalk contest for the kids.
Even if it's virtual, parang everyone still gets to feel like a kid. I still do believe that everyone has that fire na bata pa rin kayo, like matanda na tayo, but we can still be young at heart.
Of course, I'm not going to let this one pass without my own take on a spooky Halloween. Never mind that it took me 3 hours to produce this.
Gretchen Ho, we are One News.
No filter yun, ha? No filter yun.
Vertical dapat yun eh. Nag-void tuloy. Di ba? Po-post ko na lang. Grabe, ang tagal ko kanina. Ang aga ko nagising mga 5 a.m. Joke lang.
Saya, no? And like, kagaya na sabi nila, it's a good call, for a good cause. Ako, mas kinakabahan ako sa itsura ng mga bibisita sa akin dahil hindi ko nabisita.
Okay, nakakatakot nga yun.
Pero after na lang, after promise, bibisita kami.
But you know, it's so nice to see na tuloy pa rin ang celebration because pag umikot ka sa mga neighborhoods, wala na masyadong decoration mga offices. So this is the other way that they're celebrating and it's good for their mental health.
And remember, let's all remember, it is still ultimately a religious and a family holiday for everyone to remember all of their loved ones.
Any plans for the weekend? Long weekend?
Wala. Sa bahay lang. Kasi wala. Gaya ng sabi ko, sarado mga sementeryo. Di ba? Hindi kami makakabisita. So,
pahinga
after,
muna.
promise po.
Ako, nag-aantay ako ng bonus eh. Kasi nanalo yung TNT, diba?
Congratulations.
Boss MVP.
Tropang Giga.
Alam mo na. Sa QC lang kami. That wraps up today's Big Story. Catch us again Monday at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. We are One News. Have a good weekend.